Here you can see the shoreline of ancient Lake Kuia as a bathtub ring on the mountains. And over to the left is Rainbow Rock. Rainbow Rock is where mining activities currently take place and is one source of Wonderstone. Here we are in Wonderstone Wash with a beautiful view of the Salton Sea. A sea in this area has formed and evaporated multiple times over thousands of years, and historically it was known as Lake Kuia. That was the bathtub ring we saw earlier. Most routes to get here require passing through native or private land, and I've received permission to do so today, which I'm grateful for. The Wonderstone was formed by heat and pressure underground, and tribes like the Kuia tribe used it to make sharp points for cutting and later for arrowheads. This is a pretty neat and unusual formation for this part of the desert. You can see that the canyon walls are eroding, and there's somewhat of a scree or a talus slope below, depending how you pronounce it. And this is the debitage, or the eroded material from the cliff face above. When you see a slope like this, oftentimes it's indicative that the rock is softer. A harder rock would break more in straight lines. Wallace Stegner had a famous novel, I believe it won a Pulitzer Prize, called Angle of Repose. And Angle of Repose refers to the angle at which material like this settles at the bottom of a cliff. If it's too steep, it continues to fall until it reaches the right angle. And his thesis in that book, as far as I can tell, is that the people who came west shaped the West and built it in some sense, although there were native people here already. But in another sense, the West shaped them. And so the people and the landscape came to somewhat of an angle of repose between themselves. It's a very long book, and I'm glad I read it, but it's a very sad book as well. Almost everything that could go wrong for the main characters does. We're seeing a lot of these really neat conglomerate cliffs that you run into throughout Anza-Borrego and the Badlands. Much of the Wonderstone seems to have been at the east end of the canyon, however, closer to Rainbow Rock. Well, the west end of the canyon was really neat with the tall cliff sides. We saw the bone and part of a leg with the fur attached of a bighorn sheep. You can just imagine the mountain lion that must have been responsible lying in wait at the top of the cliff for a bighorn to come down looking for water. You can see we have lots of strange formations here. These are called concretions, and they're made of sand. You can see there's almost ripples around them that might have been formed by water. And they come in lots of interesting, strange shapes. This whole wash is full of them. Just because of the variety of things, some bits of wet sand and mud are stickier than others, and the stickier parts eventually clump together to make these concretions. Earlier we saw a bathtub line, and in that process, the bottom part of the rock had a lighter layer than the top. That lighter layer was tufa, or travertine, that was deposited by water that used to be there. In this case, at the top of this wash, we see a similar line, but here the darker top part of the rock is a layer of desert varnish that it was deposited. And then the lighter part is part of the rock that used to be covered and not exposed to the elements, and then the hillside has worn away. So it looks like we are back in Wonderstone country. Remember, only go on land where you have permission to be, and that includes Rainbow Rock. And wherever you are, please leave what you find, because the only reason cool stuff like this is around for us to see now is because people in the past left it. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy.